Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of Wake Nation 21, the first and only fan-fueled YouTube channel dedicated to everything Wake Forest athletics. And today we get to talk about the thing that inspired me to be a Wake fan at the very beginning, hoops. Today we're talking Wake Forest basketball. So all of our videos thus far, besides a few of our shorts, have been all dedicated to football because it's been football season. But Shane, we are like 2 weeks away from our first exhibition game and the start of the college basketball season. College basketball, I will admit, is my favorite sport to watch on the planet. I'm so freaking ready to go and talk about this. How you doing today? How you feeling? What's going on, brother?
Doing great, man. If it wasn't a giveaway, the Wake Nation 21 was a little bit of a hint that we may or may not like basketball, just a little bit. So, yeah, man, Wake basketball is on the way. Santa Claus is coming to town. We got a good team, which is, that is Santa's sleigh full of presents. And I can't wait to get into it and talk about it. Also want to mention one of our fans, okay? Because one of our fans, he is a very special person. He reached out to me this past week, and he has shown that this channel means a lot to some people and that we have an excellent fan base. And so I just want to shout out Scott Jones. Scott, if you're listening, man, I thank you so much for your support. You have no idea how much it means to us. And we just appreciate you continuing to support this channel, get the word out for us. And just wanted to give Scott a quick shout out there. But man, I'm excited to get into it. And let's do it.
Yeah, shout out Scott, man. It means a lot to have one person watch this, much less all of the folks who watch. But Scott took the time to give us a shout out on LinkedIn and try to get this channel out to more people, to more Wake Forest fans, which this is who we do it for. We are fans ourselves. We're not professional journalists. We're not in the Wake Forest athletic department. We are just hardcore Demon Deacon fans, and we appreciate another Demon Deacon fan like Scott Jones, like Blue Ridge Commentary, like all of the people who are really becoming the diehard Wake Nation 21 sickos with us here. So without further ado, let's get into the Wake Forest basketball 25-26 season preview. And I think the theme of this season is we're turning over a new leaf. There's a lot of transition and turnover on the team this year. The old guard has kind of stepped away and gone on to the next steps in their careers, but we're entering season 6 with Coach Steve Forbes. And before I say anything else about Coach Forbes and his tenure here at Wake Forest, I just got to say I love the man. When Skip Prosser died, the just tragedy of that situation, the 3 coaches that came after him, first Dino Gaudio, which I had mixed feelings about Dino. He had at one point 4 NBA players on his roster and couldn't get past Cleveland State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. He was kind of like a wannabe, like mobster or something kind of feel to him. And then we had Jeff Buzdelic, who was just like the lamest dude you could like ever imagine as a head coach. And then Danny Manning and his sort of, I don't know, abrasive, off-putting attitude towards the fans, towards the city. And then we went and we found a player's coach. We went and found a ball coach. And that's what Steve Forbes is to me. He's a ball coach. He's coached at the community college level. He worked his way up through the college basketball ranks to get this job at Wake Forest. And just shout out to Coach Forbes. I know your wife had a series of strokes a couple years ago, and just in your personal life, it's been a challenge. And as someone who has had their own health problems and know what that can do to you personally, just the perseverance of Coach and the family man that he is, and the way he brings every player that comes into this program, into his family, into his home. Just, I don't think as a man, as a person, I would want anyone else to represent Wake Forest other than Coach Forbes. And so just shout out to you, Steve Forbes. I love you, dude. You got the best haircut going, and I just think you're the man. Shane, do you have any just like thoughts about Coach Forbes? You can see his overall record at Wake, 92-65. You can see the last 5 years of the Danny Manning era, where we had one winning season. We snuck into the first four of the NCAA tournament, lost the first game. And Coach Forbes hasn't made the NCAA tournament yet. That is true. But other than the COVID season, which I see as kind of a wash, he's had 3 20-win seasons in 4 years. He's had a winning or 500 conference record every one of those 4 years. How do you feel about Coach Forbes? Should this be a make or break year for Steve Forbes? Is it NCAA or he's out as the head coach? I know fans have a lot of opinions about that. How do you feel about Coach Forbes?
Yeah, I mean, I just to echo you, I love Coach Forbes. I think he brought us out of the abyss, and I'm definitely long on him. It's definitely not a make or break year for Forbes unless like something happens that is just completely out of my purview. I think he has, built us up to a solid program again, a program that, doesn't have to hang their head. Unfortunately, a lot of those years were years that I was a student at Wake Forest. So I feel good to have Forbes at the helm. Like you said, he's a player's coach. He's done it at every level. He almost reminds me of like one of those high school basketball coaches that like you just love and like all the players love. So I think that means a lot to recruits. He has shown he is able to recruit excellent talent and bring them into Wake Forest and use, the NIL era in the way that it should be used. And so, yeah, I think his record speaks for itself. And we're just like on the edge of being kind of back in form, the form that I think we all hope for.
Yeah, there was 10 years of complete abyss and devastation after the Dino Gaudio firing. And for Coach Forbes to bring us out of that, no matter what happens moving forward, we will always owe a debt of gratitude to Coach Forbes for what he's done to turn this program around. In the past 4 years, Wake has been a top 4 ACC team, a top 5, 6, 7 ACC team at the worst. And so now I think this year is a time where we can take the next steps. But Coach Forbes isn't settling there. He's putting in a little bit of job insurance. That's what I'm going to call these recruits that we pulled in over the last couple months, a little bit of insurance for the future. So, we've got some really big class of 2026 recruiting wins recently. First, it starts with the twins. We're going to see the twins. We've got Placide brothers. So we've got Gavin and we've got Gallagher. So Gavin is the kind of leading recruit of our 26 class. He's ranked 50th by 24/7 Sports, number 53 in the composite ranking, which is all the sites out of all the sites in the nation. 6'9", 220 pounds. Kind of reminds me of a John Collins type player when John Collins came to Wake Forest. He's got some bounce to his step. He's got enough handles to, he's not going to be a point forward or anything, but he can dribble from the 3-point line to get into the lane, and he can handle the ball in transition a little bit. But he's got a polished post game, really good post moves, really good post strength at 220 pounds as a high schooler. So, look out next year, Gavin Placide. And then Gallagher is also a power forward, but he's got a little more of the small forward skill set. Almost reminds me of, a Isaiah Musius or, a poor man's Al Farouk Aminu. He's got a good looking stroke, probably a better stroke than Al Farouk Aminu ever had from three. He's an inch shorter than his twin brother. He's 15 pounds lighter, but it would give us just this great small forward, power forward, elite size and versatility combination. His handles look really good. I think Gallagher might be the one who's being slept on here with his national ranking of 78. And then just recently, 3 days ago, we signed a guy who a year ago, no one knew who this kid was. No one was talking about Quentin Coleman even a year ago. And in the video he did with 24/7 and CBS Sports, where he announced that he was picking Wake Forest over programs like Texas Tech and Iowa, he said that when he was a freshman, he wasn't even on the JV team. He was on the freshman team at his high school. So that's how far this guy's come. When you watch his tape, this man is a shooter. He can shoot it from not quite Steph Curry range, but like a foot in front of Steph Curry range. Like there's a lot of tape of him just being a sharp shooter. It's not just catch and shoot. He can shoot off the dribble. He can get to the basket. I think his ranking at 92 and 85 on the composite ranking, I think that's going to rise even higher as this recruiting cycle moves forward, because he led his EYBL Nike, the EYBL camp tournament circuit. He led Bradley Beal's team to the championship and was probably their best player. And so when he did that, that's when he exploded onto the national scene. I think Quentin Coleman is a huge get for Wake Forest just after getting the Placide twins. So we're set up for the future. Forbes has brought in some insurance for next year. How do you feel about these recruits that we just landed, Shane?
Yeah, so this is an extremely strong recruiting class. I think it's currently ranked in the top 4 in the country of recruiting classes. So obviously, with 3 4-stars this early in the cycle, you're going to be happy with what Forbes is doing. I think you explained the skill set of all the players, quite well. So I don't really have to go into that too much. But with the Placide brothers, like they self-described, like you said, Gallagher said he's more of a shooter. Gavin said he's more of kind of a postman driver. So that's how they see themselves. They have ideal size. And so when you have players with that ideal size and then you bring on a shooter, like Coleman, you're really setting yourself up for an explosive offense, which is great. And so, yeah, we'll see. I mean, and the other thing too is, when you bring in recruits at this high level this early on, stars attract stars. And so there's going to be players that look at Wake Forest because they see what the potential is for the 26, 27 year, and say, yeah, I think I want a piece of that because they're going to be contenders. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I like that we're getting guys from Dallas, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri. Like, we are in other people's recruiting territory right now, stealing these guys. And so, as we look at next year, let's also take a quick peek back to last year. We're saying goodbye to some old friends. So, Hunter Salas, the what an awesome story coming from Gonzaga, where he didn't play a whole lot, being a two-time first team all ACC player, averaging 18 points a game in 2 seasons. I know his 3-point shooting dropped off a cliff last year, as did the whole team, you know, but thank you, Hunter, for everything you did at Wake Forest. Same with Cam Hildreth. Gosh, Cam drove me absolutely crazy sometimes, but he was one of the hardest playing players we've ever had at Wake Forest. Efton Reed, our big man, 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 block in his last 2 seasons here at Wake Forest, coming over with Hunter Salas as kind of a bonus. Parker Fredrickson gone to Davidson. Davin Cosby gone to Kennesaw State. Churchill Abbas gone to New Orleans, and not the New Orleans Pelicans, gone to like New Orleans College or whatever that is. But, coming into last year, we had been such an efficient offense the year before with Boopy Miller as the point guard and Andrew Carr as the power forward. And then coming into last year, I felt like we had to put so much of the financial resources into retaining our players like Hunter and Cam and all of these guys that perhaps we didn't have the funding available to really bring in the transfers like of the quality like Forbes had done in the past. And I think that particularly showed with the Tyler Johnson experience. Like, not that Johnson was a bad player, and I wish we kind of would have let him be the point guard at the beginning of the season, but it was just like, whether it was Tyree Appleby, Alondis Williams, these were first team all ACC player of the year type point guards that we were able to bring in. And our shooting we were maybe the worst 3-point shooting team in Wake Forest history last year. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact it wasn't that we didn't have talent, it was that we didn't have a point guard. And I think had a lot to do with what went wrong last year. But even with that, we went 13-7 in the conference with that team. Do you have any parting words to these old friends? Are you kind of ready? I kind of feel ready and felt ready to kind of move on from this rendition of the team by the end of the year. Last year was kind of a painful experience to watch. How do you feel about just like kind of saying goodbye to some of these guys?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to all of them. They were all fun to watch in their own way, and they had a lot of successes, I think, in their own way. I agree with all your analysis and think it's really good. But I guess the only thing I'd add on is, they just, despite the 3-point shooting, that never happened, and the point guard that never, that we didn't have, we were still on the edge there at the end of the season of, getting into the tournament and, having a tournament berth. And we were all sitting there on the edge, just like hoping and praying, as it seems like we do from year to year. But, we just couldn't make it over the hump. And so, a lot of good, quality players, but it just felt like the pieces mismatched a little bit, and people were just kind of buying time, which is fine. I mean, that's the way it is sometimes. But yeah, they're all of them, alums, and hope they really love and feel like Wake Forest is their home, and it always will be. But yeah, kind of ready for the next chapter.
Yeah, I'm ready for the next chapter as well. We finally figured out how to play good team defense last year, and I hope that carries over into this year. And every year prior, we have been very efficient offensively. So if the defensive, team defense can remain where it is and maybe even grow, and I think as we get into the personnel of this year, and then we brought in a new guy, a new assistant coach, Nick Friedman, to kind of revamp the offense a little bit and get back to being a prolific offense, and maybe even do some different things and take some different approaches on offense. If we can marry last year's defensive capacity with a renewed offense, I think we have the makings of a really good team. So really quickly, we brought in a new assistant coach named Nick Friedman. He's worked in the NBA and as an assistant coach and G League developmental type coach and offensive specialist for the last 5-6 years. He was chosen by Chris Paul himself to work at the CP3 Elite Guard Camp for the past 5 years in a row. He's worked with the likes of Ja Morant, Tyrese Maxey. He worked for the Hornets for a couple years and helped develop LaMelo Ball. So this guy is kind of a point guard whisperer. And if point guard play was an issue last year, and Johnson is now gone, and we're going to talk about the new point guard coming in, which I think is the key to the entire season, I feel really good about Coach Forbes' awareness that, hey, I can't be complacent here. We need to be proactive about figuring this offensive situation out and maybe bringing in some new elements. So I think Nick Friedman offers the experience and opportunity to bring some pro concepts into our offense that can change the structure a little bit. I think we're still going to be fast paced, but I think he can offer some things just through his experience that perhaps we haven't had before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, Forbes is obviously making the right moves here. So that's a confidence builder for our program. He knows where our weaknesses are, and he's actively working to ameliorate those weaknesses, both from a coaching standpoint and a personnel standpoint, because it feels like, the defense is, and I don't know if Forbes is more of a defensive coach, and you can probably tell me that, but it seemed like the defense was so good, and then it was just like couldn't put the ball in the hole. So I'm happy about this hire, and Nick Friedman, with his pedigree, is going to take us to the next level in the front court.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Forbes preaches defense. We haven't always played the best defense under him. I think he has some principles that work, but we'll see. I think part of last year's shooting woes was just an anomaly. I was listening to an interview that Connor O'Neill from On3 Sports did, And he was talking about how before the season last year, when he was going to practices and stuff, the guys were just shooting lights out. And you just, thought, oh man, this is going to be special. And then when the season started, we were throwing up bricks. And then we eventually thought, well, they're going to find their stroke eventually. Parker Fredrickson's too good a shooter to stay in a slump all season. Hunter Salas is too good of offensive player to not shoot better than 29% from three, but it just never – it was just an anomaly of a sample of games where we just could not shoot the three at all, and it killed us. And I think part of that was not having a point guard, a true point guard that we could trust and count on to play 35 minutes a game to distribute the ball and, meet the new squad. Here's the new squad. And we're going to tell you guys a little bit about the new players who have transferred in. But first, we're going to talk about the key returners. So they made it a priority, especially these top three guys. They made these guys a priority to bring them back. So in terms of, I don't know exactly what our salary cap is or how much money we spent this year in the offseason, but I would venture to guess that a lot of money was spent on bringing back Juke Harris, Trayvon Spillers, and Omaha Billieu. Juke was a top 100 recruit in his class. Don't let the numbers of 6 points per game and 2.8 rebounds a game fool you. I think he is, he's poised, and from everything we're hearing out of camp, to take a big jump. I think he's one of those guys like we brought in from other programs who took big jumps. He's an actually homegrown guy who we brought in as a freshman who might be poised to take a big jump. Spillers is Spillers. He's just going to be energy, effort. He's going to be the best shot blocking guy you could ever have at 6'7". And then you want to talk about Billieu and Marion, Shane.
Yeah. Omaha Billieu, he's been looking really good. Been watching some videos on X, and I think that Forbes is definitely big on Billieu and the progress that he's made. And so I think he's poised to – he might end up being – I know this is a tough list to say this, but he might end up being our best player. So, people can come back to this video if he's a bust and point at me, but I don't think that's going to happen. And Marquise Marion, redshirt sophomore, he's got the size, 6'9", 220. So I really do feel like this is our core. This is the team. And as you'll see, as we go through, some more of the players, we got some depth this year, which was something that felt like last year we were just like, who do we put in? Because it was just like, we knew who our guys were, but it was like, you're always hoping for, that person who doesn't exist on the bench to come in and kind of save the day. But this year it's not going to be the case. And I remember, if there was one player I wanted to be put in more last year, it was Juke Harris. I felt like he, and his stat line kind of talks to that. But I just think there was too much money on the court. And so it was, and, maybe that's unfair, but at the end of the day, you got to play your best players, and Juke was still developing, but I think he's poised preseason. I think he's poised to step into that kind of top player. So
yeah, and Scott Jones says coach said we are 10 to 11 players deep this year, and Scott, we shouted you out at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
so when you watch on the playback, make sure you go back to the beginning because we gave you a shout out. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, so glad you're here.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. But Juke's positional size, as someone who's going to probably play small forward at 6'7", I think that's just great. He's got so much offensive potential and talent oozing out of him. And Bilyeu, like, there's a reason Bilyeu was ranked the number 12 overall player in his class. You know, the overall 12th player in his class.
Former
It's
5-star,
former 5-star because he is an athletic freak. And all Omaha has to do, in my opinion, this year is stay healthy.
Yeah.
And if he stays healthy, it's going to be a problem because, and I even think Marcus Marion, who came in from Denmark as a 6'8", 190-pound, skinny, guy who might be a small forward, the only reason he redshirted last year, Coach Forbes said, was because he didn't want to waste a year of his eligibility. And he wanted him to develop and just hit the weight that he has gained alone and growing another inch. Being 6'9", 220, that's a legit big man in college basketball. And, he's going to be in the rotation, I believe. He showed enough promise as a shot blocker, as a rebounder, and he can shoot a little bit too, that all four of these guys, that 10 to 11 man rotation that Scott is talking about, like all four of these guys are going to be in that rotation. So who else is going to be in the rotation? Well, we have a new point guard, Shane.
Yay.
And
let's go. Point guards.
New point guards, baby. He's a guy.
I've never heard of that position.
Yeah. We used to be point guard U, baby. Like Ish Smith, Jeff T,
Muggsy Bogues,
Chris Paul, Muggsy Bogues. We used to be point guard U. We're hoping Nate Calmise can bring us back to being point guard U. He's a 4-star transfer prospect from Washington State. So poor Washington State. We're taking their coaches. We're taking their players. He's from not too far from where I'm from right now. I'm in Tucson, Arizona right now as we record. He's from Gilbert, Arizona, as is the next player we're going to talk about. He's been at 3 different schools in 3 years, but he has good size, man. 6'2" for a point guard, 181 pounds. And the question is, his freshman season at a really small school, Lamar, he averaged 17 points a game, shot 36% from 3. Sophomore season, he transferred to Washington, was injured, only played 16 games, only played 10 minutes a game, broke out last year at Washington State. 15 points a game, 4.4 assists. He needs to reduce the turnovers. He did have, his assist to turnover ratio and his 3-point shooting, dropped drastically down to 29%. But, as we talk about sample sizes, and Scott said Washington State is our farm league. Apparently so. Is he going to be
a tough time out there?
I think it would be a lot to ask for him to be the next Alondas Williams or even Appleby. But I don't think he's going to be the next Tyler. He has so much more production to speak of coming into the program. He is a fast player who can get up and down the court end to end. He's really good, like almost Tony Parker, diet Tony Parker style player in the way he can get to the hoop and shoot like mid-range floaters. He's a good creator, but the question is, Shane, and I think a lot of our season depends on it, can he limit the turnovers and can he find that 3-point shot again to where he can get back up to, say, 35%? I think that's going to help us. But we also have other shooters we're going to talk about as well. How do you feel about Nate? What if you had to go on a 1 to 10 confidence level that he's going to be like a top 5 point guard in the ACC, what would your confidence level be?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, about 7 to 8. I think with the skill players that we have and the shooters that we have and the ability that we have on this team, let's get that assist per game. I mean, 4.4 is great. Let's keep that high and reduce turnovers. He's an explosive player, and the flip side of that kind of explosive, quick, getting the ball out is that, sometimes it doesn't go to the right player, or sometimes it bounces off your knee or, whatever. So I think that is, I feel good that we brought that, that coach in, and maybe he's kind of schooling him up, Friedman, schooling him up, getting him on those, ball drills or whatever, and just making sure he takes care of the ball, because at the end of the day, that really is a point guard. A point guard's job is to dish and to take care of the ball. So yeah, I feel confident. I mean, 7 or 8, I'm not gonna give anybody a 10. So I'm feeling really good. I think, yeah, he, top 4 ACC point guard, we'll see.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I think with Friedman coaching him, I think and coach has even said, he's like, it's getting to the point in practice where I'm having to tell Nate to shoot the ball, because he's focusing so much on being that distributor that we need. And when we have shooters like Juke and Omaha and this next guy, Makai Mason, he wants to get that practice distributing to these guys. But, he's also a very, very good scorer. Like I said, Diet Tony Parker is what we're getting in terms of point guard play, and I think we're going to get the most out of him. Makai Mason is the leading shooting guard candidate to me in terms of who's going to start at shooting guard. He's also, ironically, that's not a typo, he's from Gilbert, Arizona as well. So just randomly, he's from Gilbert.
You've been recruiting these guys, Josh.
Yeah, that's our other farm league. Is I go up to Gilbert and I just say, "Hey, you should go to Wake Forest." So good size for a shooting guard, 6'5", 202 pounds. Started at Rice, was on the Conference USA All Freshman team. 14 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 38% from 3. His junior season at Washington last year, he started the final 11 games. He was coming on more and more as the season progressed. 15.4 points per game over the final 7 games. He shot 40% from 3 on the season last year. So Makai Mason is an elite catch and shoot player, like point blank period. But he's also kind of got some handles. He's not just a catch and shoot player. And I think with, Friedman working with him as well, he's a good, smooth athlete who can be a spot up shooter for us. And if he needs to create off the dribble, he can a little bit. And so I'm really feeling me some Makai Mason right now. How do you feel about Makai Mason, Shane?
Well, so let's pair this points per game with the 3-point percentage. To go to Scott's point, he loves the 3-point shooting percentage. And I agree. And that points per game also says he's not just shooting 1 or 2 threes, a game. We actually have a nice little sample size of shots. And with that higher percentage, that makes me really warm and cozy. So he is not only someone who makes consistently, but he's also a quantity guy. So, that's putting points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's not an anomaly that his 3-point shooting percentage. It's been proven over time. And we have another guy though, but we've got another guy. And
That'll be a theme.
This is Miles Colvin, and this speaks to the depth of the team. So one thing I really like about this Miles Colvin get, he was the 63rd ranked player in his high school class. He went to Purdue, not Purdy. That's Deshaun Purdy. He went to Purdue. And so I like getting a guy who, although he was a freshman, played some minutes in a national championship game. He's got, if he's coming from Purdue, he's been well coached.
Yeah.
And so, everyone expected, because of how highly ranked he was as a prospect, that he would make a big sophomore jump. He didn't really make that jump. He shot 41% from three as a freshman, regressed to 31% as a sophomore. But if you look at his shot, it's a pretty looking shot, man. And I know that doesn't say everything. He's more limited to the just catch and shoot. He's not as good of a ball handler and as smooth, getting to the basket as Mason. But dude's an athlete. If we had an LD Williams or the best dunker on the team, it's Miles Colvin. That's my dude. He's going to be the best athlete, and in terms of defensive versatility, he's going to be able to guard 1 through 3 at 6'5", 212 pounds. So a potential 3-and-D impact player. I don't know how the minutes are going to be split up between him, Juke, and Mason. But I just feel like those are going to be the guys playing the majority of the minutes at the 2 and the 3. So how would you rather have Hunter Salas and Cam Hildreth, Shane? Or would you rather have the combination of Juke, Mason, and Miles?
Yeah, I mean, Mason, Colvin and Mason, the thing I want to say about Colvin is if he comes in and makes a couple threes and throws down some alley-oops, he's done his job. That, it just gets the crowd hype, gets Tie-Dye Nation going. When you talk about he's an athlete, you're getting me excited there, because I'm always somebody who's looking for kind of the showstopper. And you kind of need that. You need at least 1 or 2 people in a game who can kind of showboat a little bit or throw the ball down really hard on somebody. If you pair that with 3-point shooting, yeah, let's go. We're talking about I don't want to say Vince Carter, but Vince could shoot the 3 ball and dunk. So, I mean, that's the comparable that's coming to mind. But, we'll see. I mean, I'm just happy. This is the guy after Mason. Perfect.
Yeah, this is the guy after Mason at this point. But we don't even know that. Coach Forbes said, they keep stats of their summer scrimmages. He said he was the leading scorer in the summer scrimmages. So who knows? He might take the spot as the starting shooting guard. We don't know at this
point. My language, man.
Starting center. I couldn't get a picture with enough digital quality.
You got this guy cheesing.
Of Cooper Schwieger in his Wake Forest uniform. So I got him cheesing in his Valparaiso uniform. Starting center, most likely. I heard that the coaches were wanting a little more from him a couple months ago in terms of being more aggressive and stuff like that. But I just don't, and we're going to have this conversation about whether it would be feasible to start Omaha and Spillers as our power forward and center. Spillers as a 6'7" center. I know to be 6'7", he's the best shot blocking 6'7" person you could ask for. But I think to have against most teams, we're going to need the 6'10", 235-pound Cooper Schwieger, who averaged 13 points, 5 rebounds as a true freshman, and shot 36% from 3-point range, and then took the next step the next year and got to 15, almost 16 points, almost 8 rebounds, 2 blocks per game. Again, these percentages in these college seasons, the sample size, he fell down to 29% from 3-point range. But he had major interest in the transfer portal. I think out of all the transfers we got, Colvin and Schweiger are the highest 2 ranked ones. And he had interest from Michigan, Kansas, Villanova, major programs. Has the potential, and we've said this about like 4 guys now, so to be our best player on the team. 85% free throw shooter. He's got the stroke. He's kind of got a weird, like, little hitch to it, but it goes in. How do you feel about Schweiger? Do you think like he's legit for sure going to start at the center position?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm happy to see someone like getting into the 6 and double digits height range, because that's one thing that thus far hasn't been on the board. So this is another puzzle piece that you want to see fit in. As a big man who's, hopefully getting rebounds, going up there, and this is going to go off of Scott's point, when you get that second chance opportunity and you get hacked, okay, we're going to feel pretty confident when he goes to the free throw line. And, especially late in the game, that's one of those things where like that wins you basketball games. So I agree with you. And it's so crazy to like talk about each of these players, and like, it's not hyperbole. Like, they really all have potential to like just step in and become the best player or one of the best players on the team. I feel like, Schweiger should for sure be in the starting lineup, as the center. But we'll see. I mean, it all depends on like kind of what pace we want to run at this year, and what style of offense we want to go with. But we've usually been fast paced. But yeah, I always want to have a big man with that size, to block the shots, people coming in.
I think that's the biggest point, like that I like think you emphasized and needs to be so much. He's the only guy we have at 6'10" or taller. So if there's one thing that's lacking on this team, it's we don't have the 7-footers, and you don't necessarily need them if you have the right combination of other guys who were 6'9", 6'8", but to at least have one guy who's 6'10", has a history of, blocking 2 shots per game. I think, Scott said we're going to be fast paced. And speaking of fast paced, Sebastian Akins. So we won't talk too much about him because we've already gone so long. But he played at the University of Denver last year in the Summit League. He was the Summit League Freshman of the Year. He's from Concord, North Carolina. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, almost 3 assists. I think the good thing about Akins is, like, he could be what Tyler Johnson was last year if Tyler didn't have to play but like 5 minutes a game and had time to develop. If we could just let Akins, he's kind of a speed merchant. He's really got a lot of just like juice to his game, but he's got turnover problems. He did shoot 76% from the free throw line, which is encouraging, but he was only 42% overall from the field, 30% from 3. But we'll see about Akins. I think Akins is a good developmental piece. Is that kind of how you feel, Shane?
Yeah, two letters, PG. That's all I gotta say. He's a point guard, so You got to have depth at that position, and I'm just happy to see a point guard.
Yeah, and it's either going to be Akins getting the backup minutes at point guard, or I would say Isaac Carr, based on what I've heard out of camp. So here's the first two freshmen we signed. Jalen Cross is more of a project, I would say. Maybe give us some minutes as a defensive player, but I think offensively, he's still got a long ways to go. He chose us over App State and ECU, so he's kind of that level of a player. But Isaac Carr, from Portland, Oregon, the number one player in the state of Oregon, 4-star prospect. When you see the size
from Big Four schools.
Yeah, attention from Big Four schools. And, when you see the size, you think combo guard, like maybe not a point guard. But from what I've been hearing, at least, I think Isaac Carr can play the backup point guard role. So I think it's going to be him and Akins battling it out for those backup minutes because, we don't need to tire more West Coast poaching, right, Scott? Yeah. We don't need to tire out, Calmise by playing him 38 minutes a game because that's how we fall apart down the stretch every year is because by the last 5 games of the regular season, everyone's so freaking tired from playing so much that every other team is more fresh than us. I think what we might see more this year is a lot of rotation, right? I mean, I feel like that's where we're going.
Yeah.
And then one late freshman you want to talk about because you did the short on him, the guy we signed from Bosnia.
Dmitry Kovacevic. Yeah, let's go. Okay, we got the Euro League coming in. Kovacevic, I mean, he's got great size, 6'8", 215. He had a really good stat line from the Euro League where he was playing. He can shoot the ball. I mean, 60% from 2-point land, 32% from 3-point land, like I said in the short. So always like having a long, shooter European on the team. It just feels good, to have that guy.
You gotta have one, right?
No, he'll be working on his English and actually no, I have no idea. Like he probably fluent, but he's a great pickup. All jokes aside, and like kudos to Forbes for going out and like picking up somebody like this because these aren't like the obvious type of people to recruit. Like these, I always feel like I don't know how coaches like find these people, but I'm so happy that they do.
This is another depth thing, it's like, and I saw reports when we first signed him that he was 6'10", some saying he's 6'9". I put the size that is on the Wake Forest website, but 7'2" wingspan, I don't think it matters if he's 6'10" or 6'8", if he has a 7'2" wingspan.
Right.
But I think it just goes to the depth behind Schwieger, Marcus Marion. We needed another big man. And that gets us to who's starting, who's playing the most minutes on this team. So we kind of have this dilemma because Omaha Bilyeu, if healthy, we would think, and kind of with Miles Colvin, that these two guys would be guys who would be, as juniors, high pedigree, top, Bilyeu being a 5-star, Colvin being a 4-star. They're ready to start. They're like, all right, I'm a junior now. I want to freaking start.
Yeah.
But just with the makeup of the team, it's kind of hard. So we could go Bilyeu at power forward and go Spillers at center. because of Spiller's arm length and shot blocking ability, and let Schwieger come off the bench. Or we could go Schwieger as the starter. This is my starting lineup if I'm Coach Forbes. This is who I'm going with. And maybe some games against teams that don't have a true big, I start the Bill U lineup. That's why I put or.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this lineup? Would you rather see Colvin get a chance, maybe because of his upside at shooting guard? How do you feel about what you're seeing here, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. For me, it's a question of offense or defense. If it's the offensive lineup, you got Bill U at power forward. If it's the defensive lineup, you got Spiller at power forward. I want to keep Schweiger at center.
That's a good thought too.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know what Bill U's defensive pedigree is. I haven't seen that as much. Maybe he's a stud on defense. If he is, then for me, it's almost, just Omaha and Trayvon, coming in to, when he gets tired. But I think that also, with Colvin, I like Colvin, coming in even, as Juke's, backup, or Mason's backup with his 3-point shooting ability. But yeah, I think you got it right.
I want to see. Here's what I want to see. I want to see from Cal Meese to Bill U to Colvin and all the starters listed. I want to see all of them hover around 28 to 30 minutes per game. Maybe Cal Meese gets a little more, but I would like to see, from a depth perspective, a lot more spreading out of the minutes. Yeah. I don't want these guys playing 35 minutes a game all season. I don't want any of them. I want us, if we're going to be, and we're going to get to our prediction, if we're going to be the team that we think we are, against this schedule. So, all the bitching about us not playing good teams in the non-conference, we've got number 7 Michigan at Michigan. We've got in the Bahamas, we're going to play Texas Tech, then the winner of Purdue versus Memphis. We're going to play Oklahoma. We're going to play West Virginia. We're going to play Vanderbilt. So I think our non-conference schedule, if we can come out of that, only losing 3 games, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And then getting into the conference, there's only 3 teams ranked in the ACC. It's Duke, it's Louisville, it's UNC right now. We are picked 11th by the media. We're picked to finish 11th in the ACC. Duke, obviously, with the number 1 recruiting class in the country, Cameron Boozer, Kaminia, Caden Boozer, Sebastian Wilkins. That's 4 top 50 players and 3 5-star players. Dame Sarr, another 5-star player. They're obviously going to be what Duke always is. I think Louisville under Pat Kelsey is going to be very, very good. They have Mikal Brown Jr. coming in, who's the number 6 overall player in the country. Carolina with Caleb Wilson as the number 8 overall player in the country as a freshman. And then NC State with the hiring of Will Wade, the Texas Tech transfer, Damon Williams. I think those 4 teams are clearly, to me, going to be challenges for us. Those 4 teams are going to be really good. And I hate that it's 3 of the 4 of them are in the Big 4 of North Carolina. But after that, I looked at Virginia's roster. I looked at SMU. Clemson's always going to be good with Brownell, but I see us as number 5, number 4, easily flirting with that.
Yeah.
And so will you explain to us, Shane, why, although we are picked 11th, you think we're going to make the NCAA tournament?
Well, if you think about how we finished last year, we were the 5th ranked team in the ACC behind SMU, Louisville, Clemson, and Duke. And I don't think you can find anybody who would say that the team this year is not better than the team last year, or at least that's my opinion. I think if Juke Harris and Omaha Billieu really are the players that I think they are, with support from all of these other players, I think we're poised to be top 3. Which is not too crazy away from top 5. We finished top 5 last year. Top 3 ACC team ranked going into the NCAA tournament, making it and at least getting to the second round, if not the third round. I know, that what a dream, it's like as a Wake fan, that's one of those you just sit and you think about, and it's just feels so good. But, I really do think that this year with the coaching staff and with the talent that we have, we certainly could make that happen. And so we'll see. I mean, Juke is he's developed, but he's still a little bit untested because he didn't play, that much last year. I mean, he did play, but so we'll see what happens. But I'm feeling really good about our team.
It has been since week 15 of the 2009-2010 season since our Wake Forest Demon Deacons have been ranked in the top 25 of college basketball. Mm-hmm. That is hard to believe.
Yeah.
This is the year. Last year, we were top heavy. We had Hunter Salas, first team All ACC. We had a couple of other guys, but we were very top heavy. I can name 6 to 8 players who I think are really, really good. And I can pick about 4 to 5 players who I don't know who the best player on the team is going to be this year. Mm. And I really like that. And I think we're going to shock the world. And our offense, with the hiring of Friedman and Cal Meese under his study, with guys like Mason and Colvin as these wing 2 guards along with Juke, and then the raw talent of Omaha, Schwieger, and then the depth on the bench behind them. I don't know if we'll be ranked going into the NCAA tournament, but we're going to get to be ranked at least 1 week of this season. That's all I'm asking for. We make the NCAA tournament as a 6 or 7 seed. We lose in the second round, like you said. And we put an end to this decade-and-a-half drought of feeling like we're irrelevant nationally. We're going to be playing games down the stretch where our NCAA tournament is already secured, and we don't feel like we have the pressure of having to win every single game down the stretch, because that has worn us down like 3 to 4 years in a row. And we're going to have a front-loaded season this year. Everyone's going to be in transition from having new players. But we're going to have enough talent, and people are underrating the talent we brought in, so that we're going to be better than Carolina. We're going to be better than State. We're going to be better than Virginia, SMU, Clemson. And we're going to get to the NCAA tournament. That is my prediction. You guys can come back and check on this video in about 5 months and see if we're complete idiots and homers and propagandists.
I don't think so.
Or if we might know what we're talking about. So we'll see. But thank you guys for watching. Do all the things. If you haven't hit like, if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you haven't commented, if you don't share this on your social media feed and you're a Wake fan, do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Please do so. We appreciate everyone who watches this. Like we always say, we do this for you guys, for the fans. Shane, do you have any parting words for Coach Forbes or the Deacs on the way out?
Yeah, man. I think you said it best at the beginning of the podcast. Like, we got into this, as young fans, as kids, kind of through the basketball lens. And so I'm so excited for the basketball season. Wake Nation 21, Tim Duncan, always and forever. But just thank you so much to Scott and all of our supporters, and we're gonna keep working to grow this channel, and we're gonna keep providing you with excellent content, whether you want it or not. It's coming your way.
Yeah, like Shane said, we appreciate all the watches. We're gonna keep pushing because we care about this program. We care about the fan base, and this fan base deserves this content. And I think we're finally going to get over the hump in basketball this year. Thank you guys for watching. Go Deacs. Let's freaking go. Basketball season 2 weeks away. We're signing out. See you guys on the next one. Peace.